10 archaeological finds that support the Old Testament. 1. The Merneptah Stele, a 13th century BC stone slab inscription representing proof of Yasharal in ancient Egypt. The inscription is from the pharaoh Merneptah, who was son of Ramesses II, and speaks of Egypt's victory over several nations, including Yasharal, and it's the first time the name Yasharal is found outside of the Bible. It's also the only citation in Egyptian epigraphy. The slab reads, "The foreign chieftains lie prostrate, saying peace. Libya is captured, while Haiti is pacified. Canaan is plundered, Ashkelon is carried off, and Gezer is captured. Yanoam is made into non-existence. Yisrael, identified as Yasharal or Israel, is laid waste. His seed is no more, and Huru is become a widow because of Egypt. All lands united themselves in peace. Those who went about are subdued by the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Merneptah." For more biblical reference, Exodus chapter 1 verse 11 says that Yasharal built the cities of Pithom and Ramesses, which would be Pharaoh Ramesses II, Merneptah's father, whose stone carving can also be found of him stringing up 3 prisoners with a cord. And today the Merneptah Stele is kept in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo in Egypt. 2. The Ipuwer Papyrus, dated somewhere between the 13th and 16th century BC, also known as the Admonitions of Ipuwer, who was an ancient Egyptian writer who wrote of disasters, calamities and chaos affecting ancient Egypt, which parallel descriptions of the Exodus plagues, implying a connection to ancient Egyptian memory. Ipuwer wrote of the river being blood and of thirsting for water, which parallels Exodus 7:19-20 and 24, where Yahuwah turned the streams, rivers and all the waters of Egypt into blood. And all the Egyptians digged round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river. Ipuwer also wrote that trees are felled, branches stripped, grain is lacking on all sides, which parallels Exodus 9:22-25 and verse 31, where Yahuwah sent strong hailstones throughout Egypt, and the hail smote every herb of the field, and broke every tree of the field, and the flax and the barley was smitten. The admonitions also say birds find neither fruits nor herbs, which is reminiscent of Exodus chapter 10, 14-15, where Yahuwah sent locusts to eat up everything in Egypt. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left, and there remained not any green thing in the trees, or in the herbs of the field, through all the land of Egypt. Ipuwer also said, "Groaning is throughout the land, mingled with laments," paralleling Exodus 12:29-30, where Yahuwah smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. Ipuwer also wrote, "Many dead are buried in the river. The stream is the grave. The tomb became a stream, and he who puts his brother in the ground is everywhere." Elsewhere he said, "All is ruin," where similarly in Exodus 10 verse 7, Pharaoh's servants said unto him, "Know you not yet that Egypt is destroyed?" Ipuwer also said, "The land is without light," which parallels Exodus 10 verse 22, where Yahuwah calls the thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. And lastly, Ipuwer wrote that gold and lapis lazuli, silver and malachite, carnelian and bronze are fastened on the neck of female slaves, a general parallel to Exodus 1:13-14, where the Egyptians made the children of Yasharal to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And today the Ipuwer Papyrus is kept in the Dutch National Museum of Antiquities in the Netherlands. 3. The Kirk Stele monolithic inscription of Assyrian king Shalmaneser III, dated 9th century BC, verifying in history the Israelite king Ahab, who was Jezebel's husband. The stele records events of Shalmaneser's battles and also reveals Yasharal or Israel as a military power in Syria-Palestine regions in the late 9th century BC under the head of Ahab. It's written in Akkadian in cuneiform writing, and a portion of it reads, "I destroyed, devastated and set fire to Karka, his royal city, Ahulini brought 12 kings to his support. They came against me to offer battle and fight. 1,200 chariots, 1,200 cavalry, and 20,000 soldiers belonging to Hadad-Ezer of Damascus. 700 chariots, 700 cavalry, and 10,000 or 20,000 soldiers belonging to Ahulini of Hamath. 2,000 chariots, and 10,000 soldiers belonging to Ahab the Israelite. Cavalry of other nations are also mentioned on the slab, but 10,000 soldiers belonging to Ahab the Israelite is what's relevantly recorded here in history. And today the Kirk Stele is kept in the British Museum in London, England. 4. The Tel Dan Stele, an 8th century BC stone inscription found at Tel Dan in northern Israel. It's written in Aramaic and believed to be by the 9th century BC King Hazael of Damascus, who had a wide kingdom and once again boasted of his victories. King of Yasharal or Israel and House of David are mentioned in fragments of the inscription, which reads, my father lay down. He went to Ra'el, formerly in the land. Hadad went before me. My king and I slew of them. Riots and 2,000 horsemen. The king of Yasharal and House of David and I, land of Ham, other, ruled over Yasharal, sieged upon. So the Stele is the earliest known extra-biblical reference of King David, affirming his existence as a person in history. And the Tel Dan Stele is kept in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. 5. The Moabite stone, also known as the Mesha Stele, which is a 9th century BC stone slab inscription from Mesha, who was the king of Moab. The Bible book of 2 Kings 3:4-5 reads, and Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheep master, and rendered unto the king of Yasharal 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams with the wool. But it came to pass, when Ahab was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Yasharal. 1 Kings 16:23-25 also reads, in the 31st year of Asa, king of Yehudah, began Omri to reign over Yasharal. But Omri wrought evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, and did worse than all that were before him. The Mesha Stele was found near Jordan, and not only affirms Mesha's rebellion against Yasharal, but also mentions Omri, and also has inscribed on it the name of Yahuwah, and the house of David. In short, the Mesha Stele reads, I am Mesha, son of Chemoshiat, the king of Moab, the Dibonite. My father was king of Moab 30 years, and I reigned after my father. Omri, king of Yasharal, oppressed Moab for many days, for Chemosh was angry with his land. And his son succeeded him, and he also declared, I will oppress Moab. In my days he declared thus, but I prevailed over him and over his house. Now Yasharal utterly perished forever. Omri had taken possession of the land of Medaba, and he dwelt in it in his days and half the days of his son, 40 years. And I took from there, Chemosh and Kiat, the altars of Yahuwah, and I hauled them before Chemosh. The king of Yasharal had built Yahaz, and dwelt in it while fighting against me, but Chemosh drove him out from before me. I took 200 men of Moab, all its divisions, and I led them against Yahaz. I took it to add to Dibon. The house of David dwelt in Haronin, and Chemosh said to me, go down, fight against Haronin. The Mesha Stele or Moabite stone is kept in the Louvre Museum in France, and again is evidence of the historicity of the nation of Yasharal, of the house of David, and of the name of Yahuwah. 6. Ron Wyatt, and one of his most compelling discoveries of what he believes to be and what strongly looks like the ancient ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah near the Dead Sea. The Bible tells us in Genesis and 2 Peter how Yahuwah rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahuwah out of the heavens, and he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live in wickedness. So as said, a location for Sodom and Gomorrah has been found, and verified by others, and it's covered in white ash. What looks like man-made structures are also seen, again covered in ash. Swirly patterns are left on valley walls, resembling layers of rock melted together, and when touched they turn to dust. But the most shocking finds in the area are sulfur balls, aka brimstone, embedded in structures and in ash around the area. And the brimstone is a unique white and 90 to 98% pure when tested. Some say it's volcanic, but volcanic sulfur is just 40% pure and is typically yellow, not white. And on top of that, no volcanic activity has been recorded in the area. Deuteronomy 29:23 reads, "The whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown, nor bears, nor any grass grows therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah." The first century historian Josephus also said of Sodom and Gomorrah in War of the Jews, Book 4, "It was of old a most happy land, both for the fruits it bore and the riches of its cities, although it be now all burnt up. It is related how, for the impiety of its inhabitants, it was burnt by lightning, in consequence of which there are still the remainders of that divine fire, and the traces or shadows of the 5 cities are still to be seen, as well as the ashes growing in their fruits, which fruits have a colour, as if they were fit to be eaten, but if you pluck them with your hands, they dissolve into smoke and ashes. And thus what is related of this land of Sodom has these marks of credibility, which our very sight affords us." 7. The Hittites, who were once thought to be an imaginary nation, until in 1906 they were found documented on thousands of ancient clay tablets found in northeastern Turkey, and these tablets are now in the Orgazgoy Museum in Turkey. 8. Papyrus seals, also called bullae, have been found, which were used to secure writings on scrolls or to stop contents being tampered with. Seals or bullae would have distinctive marks on them to authenticate the document and also to identify its owner. Hundreds have been found during excavations in Jerusalem around the city of David, and 34 with inscriptions of biblical Old Testament people, including Jezebel, Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Hilkiah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and also others. Bullae and papyrus seals are kept in the British Museum in London and also in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. 9. Next we have Hezekiah's tunnel. 2 Chronicles 32 verse 30 reads, "Hezekiah also stopped the upper watercourse of Gihon and brought it straight down to the west side of the city of David." 2 Kings 20:20 says, "And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah, and all his might, and how he made a pool and a conduit, and brought water into the city, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehudah?" So it was in preparation for an Assyrian siege, and so to transport water into the city of David, Hezekiah built a tunnel, which has been found, dating to 700 BC, around the time of Hezekiah. The Siloam inscription was also found in the tunnel, written in Hebrew, revealing how the tunnel was constructed, being dug at each end to connect to a halfway point. And the tunnel also connects to the pool of Siloam, mentioned in John chapter 9 verse 7, where Yahushua healed the blind man and told him to wash his eyes at this pool. So Hezekiah's tunnel brought water from the Gihon spring into the city of David and Jerusalem and to the pool of Siloam, which is archaeological find number 10. The pool of Siloam was located by archaeologists in 2004 while repairs were being made to a sewage line. They found steps from a temple going down to street level and leading down further to what was once a pool, the pool of Siloam. They also found coins and pottery embedded in the concrete, dating to Yahushua's time. And although excavations are still ongoing, part of the area is open to the public today. Okay, and that's it for the moment. Some of these finds, and 100 plus more, are found in the Archaeology of the Old Testament by David E. Graves, which is quite a good source and reference. Yahuwah willing, I'll put another video together soon on archaeological finds supporting the New Testament, better known as the Renewed Covenant. So until then, stay blessed, and here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that guard the commandments of Yahuwah and the belief of Yahushua.